So we're here.
Hi! Hi, YouTube. Does my hair look stupid? What do you do with my hair?
I like your hair a lot. But every time I compliment you on your hair, you're like, oh no, you like it like this. It looks so good.
You look pretty too. Your boobs are pretty.
I know. This shirt is great. It's by
literally out and about.
It's by Kai.
That's how we get them views, baby.
He's not wrong. I'm so excited because we're finally getting on YouTube and answering your questions and hanging out with you guys and showing like our life behind the scenes. I've been wanting to do this forever, but I just...
We've been busy raising...
Yeah. So we're going to do our best to keep you in our world. Be nice, please.
We're going to do a little birth story.
Yeah. We're going to talk about...
We really haven't talked much about like birth story and the birthing process for us. And, yeah, so...
It was great. I think I want to rewind and just saying that being educated and knowledgeable of what was happening was what led me to want this type of like birth, and also how I navigated like the actual birth day and how I ended up where I wanted to be. If it wasn't for my doulas, like specifically Allison doula, and then later on my photographer, she's also a doula, if it wasn't for their teamwork and their guidance and like us preparing for months and doing like hour-long classes and just like really understanding like what was going on with my body, what was going to actually happen during that day. If it wasn't for that, it wouldn't have turned out the way that it did. And we wouldn't have been super confident and super happy.
I think confidence is the key word there. I think we made sure that we were so well prepared that we were very confident going into the day. We weren't really that nervous.
No, we weren't that nervous, and like we probably should have been a little bit more nervous.
I wasn't nervous at all. To
Me
the point
neither.
where like, well, let's get into it then.
Yeah, so basically what happened was, so after we'd done birth classes at home with our doula, we were, you know, very just prepared. We had a birth plan, but we knew that anything could happen and whatever happened.
Everything will happen, like there's always something that goes.
Then we were going to be, you know, prepared for it, somehow, some way. And mainly just because I'd learned to like, just like, let go. I originally wanted to do hypnobirthing, and
we did do it.
We
prepared
did do
for
it. We
4 months.
We prepared to we prepared to hypnobirth, and hypnobirthing is when you don't have any interventions during your birth. Like you allow your body to relax and open up through breath work, and so that way your body just eventually pushes out your baby. It's really beautiful, and in thought and in practice, and like your body is meant to be to give birth. Like hospitals try to make women think that they don't know how to give birth, but really you just we didn't give birth for thousands of years. Yeah, exactly. And we were meant to do this. So that's the whole premise of it. It's just like going back to primitive birthing. I really wanted to do it, and that's how I felt the most comfortable. But I wanted to do like a hybrid. I didn't want to do any medicine, like, you know, medical interventions during my birth, but I wanted it to be in a hospital. So I wanted a controlled setting, you know, and doing this, you know, all natural birth. So it was like a good mix for me. Our doula was all for it. She also like gave me no judgment. She's like, hey, listen, like if at the end of the day, like you feel like you need an epidural or anything like that.
Yeah, we're not going to shame you.
Yeah, we're not going to shame you, like we support you. So that made me feel really, really great going into it too. So after all this preparation, March 27th comes along, and I remember the day, and it was weird because like I look back at it now and I'm like, wow, I was just like speaking it into existence. I wrote on my Instagram story that day, I was like, today's a big day, for like no reason. I think I said today's a big day because like we were finally organizing something, I don't know, but I was like, today's a big day. I remember I was walking along the sidewalk, and I said to Heath, I was like, I'm ready now, baby. This is like, I'm finally ready. And this was the only time ever throughout my pregnancy that I said it out loud, that I was like, I'm done. And also I just want to preface, like, I loved being pregnant. Like, I loved everything
really
about
did.
it.
She's not just saying that, she really did enjoy it. I thought she was going to be a horrible pregnant woman. I thought you were just going to, because she doesn't, well, it's not necessarily a bad thing. You don't like being uncomfortable. And you weren't excited about what was going to happen to your body at the time.
No.
So I thought it was just going to be a lot of like, just not like you would hate it, but you would just always kind of be on edge, and you would always kind of be cranky, I guess is the word I'm looking for.
Bitchy and just hell on wheels.
Yeah. If you don't know Jeannie, she can be very
lovely and amazing. And
emotional.
incredibly supportive.
She can be very emotional.
Yeah.
She can be very emotional. You've seen it. Most people have seen it. I've seen it. So I was like, oh my god, her on like emotional steroids.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, so I just thought, but I was wrong. I was wrong. She absolutely adored being pregnant. She glowed. It was amazing to watch, and it was really cool to see what her body was doing. Even though it was changing, like, you really embraced the change, which was cool.
I wish I was pregnant right now.
She wants to constantly be pregnant. It's
I just felt really pretty and like happy. It's this natural flush.
Yeah.
My skin was doing great. My nails were like super long. My hair, like everything was just up, like thriving. I thought that I was, gonna miss being pregnant a lot, but I don't. I'm just really happy to have my baby. So March 27th got here. We were in our room.
10 p.m.
It was 10 p.m. And I remember I heard this inside my body, and then I just like braced myself because it just felt like a big, like I guess contraction. And I was getting a lot of Braxton Hicks, but this was so intense that I had to hold him. I held you, and I was just like, and you're just like, what's happening? And I'm like, that was a really big one. Okay, I have to pee. So then I went to the bathroom and I undid my pants, and I was about to sit on the toilet, and then my water broke. But I thought it was just like me peeing prematurely, like that I just didn't make it to the toilet. So I looked at Blake and I was like, Blake. I was like, I think my water just broke. And you're like,
I was like, oh.
Yeah. And I was like, and I looked at it, and it didn't look like pee. It looked like like fluid. The next 5 minutes, I was like, no, I just peed. And then I go and I go lay down, and then I stand up again, and then more water comes out uncontrollably. And I just look at Blake after a gush just came out. He goes, yeah, your water just broke.
And I was very, very calm because at the time G didn't have any contractions.
No.
So her water broke. She wasn't in pain. She wasn't in discomfort. Her water just broke. She was completely happy. It was 10 p.m. and I knew it was going to be a very long, at least 24 to 36 hours. So I said, let's go to sleep. So just go to sleep. If you start getting contractions in the night, you'll wake up and we go to the hospital. I'm like, you're going to need all the sleep you can get. You're going to need all the rest you can get. I mean, it slept good.
I fucking fell asleep.
We woke up at 6.
Yeah,
I would say 6.
Yeah.
And she's still, I remember being like, how are you feeling? She was like,
I was like, nothing.
Nothing's changed.
Yeah, no.
Nothing. She didn't feel any contractions. She wasn't in discomfort. You weren't freaking out. You were calm. And we were like, all right. We already had a doctor's appointment scheduled for that day.
Literally,
just happened to have
day.
a doctor's appointment already scheduled.
The
1
doctor's
o'clock.
appointment was at 1.
So we were like, hey, let's just wait. And then if we get contractions, we go to the hospital. If not, let's just go and then we'll talk to the doctor then.
And mind you, I forgot this whole time, our house is under construction. There are boxes everywhere.
People everywhere.
My closet was in our bedroom. We didn't have the bassinet. We didn't have the bassinet. We didn't have a changing table. We didn't have nothing.
Anything was set up.
Nothing was set up. We go to the doctor's office. She confirmed that my water did break with the little strip. And we're just like, okay, water broke. Keith wasn't due for another 10 days at this point. She recommended that I get admitted right there. From our research, There's been a lot of extra procedures that happen if you like are admitted right away because the hospitals just want you in and out. And I wanted to progress naturally. That meant to me that I could stay at home and just try to like induce naturally and labor naturally. And then once I'm in active labor, then I'll go to the
Yeah, the
hospital.
longer you're at the hospital, the more complications and stuff they want to put in you. So basically, we were like, let's wait until we have to go to the hospital.
Yeah, for me, that benchmark meant 24 hours after my water broke. And the reason why they don't want you to do that is because, you know, after your water breaks, like, you're technically, you know, prone to all these infections, blah, blah, blah. So, you know, we were keeping our boundaries, but also, you know, heeding with caution. So then we did a stress test, which was great. They just did like a little belly band on me and like measured, you know, his heartbeat and everything, and he was great and I was great, and so we went home.
No, we literally left the hospital.
We left the hospital. We didn't get admitted. Walked around the park.
You were like laying in the park.
I was like meditating. I was grounding.
And both doulas came over.
Both doulas. Well, I got acupuncture before that.
Oh.
Yeah, before the doulas. They recommended I go to like their acupuncturist, which was great, but didn't induce me. And then we did a sound bath, and then I pumped because that can also induce labor. Nothing.
Now, granted, while she's doing all this, my parents come over.
Oh.
We're setting up changing tables. We're setting up everything we could because we knew he was coming. We had no living room at the time.
We have no living room.
Everything was piled in the living room, like because we were in construction upstairs. So everything from upstairs was downstairs. Our au pair cleaned and pretty much
deep cleaned
the bedroom, so that at least we'd have the bedroom as like a safe space.
Yeah, my parents came over. They helped build whatever.
It was like the crib, the bath thing. I think even the bassinet.
No, so basically.
Oh no, your dad helped.
No, so this was a crazy story. I started to feel like a little hot. The one telltale sign that you're getting an infection, like after your water broke, is that you get a fever. And I just felt like a little hot. I don't know if it was from like, you know, the being emotional or whatever. I was tired. It was been a long day, but I was just like, nope, we're out of here. We packed up everything. I packed up the hospital bag the day before. Just for like, you know, just to have it, make content, like have my hospital bag at least done. This was supposed to be like 3 weeks before like my due date. I was like, let me just do it the day before. I got like a little braid done. I felt really nice and just like prepared. Had my robe, I had everything. And we walk out the door. We still didn't have like the crib or anything like that. We walk out the door and we saw 5 boxes.
Yeah, there's a bunch of boxes, right?
And it was like that day we had the bassinet. Like a bunch of other things that we were waiting on just delivered.
Yeah.
Like right as we were going to the hospital. It was amazing. And so we just like let them just...
Yeah, everybody, my family member set everything up while we went to the hospital.
In the meantime, like I know my family and, you know, my uncle's a doctor and all this stuff, so I asked him, I was like, so what if my water breaks and, you know, I don't get any contraction? He goes, you have to go to the hospital right away. No, they're probably gonna do surgery on you. And I was like, cool, I'm not telling anybody else in my family. So everyone in my family is like low key, like waiting by the phone, being like, what is she doing? Like, why is she not at the hospital yet? But I'm really glad that I had that boundary. That I was just,
it was literally 24 hours.
Yeah, me too. And like I didn't listen to anybody. I was just like, nope, I'm listening to my own body. And that was the best decision ever. So then we go to the hospital, get admitted.
I think we were admitted at like 8 p.m.
We're like 10 minutes away from the hospital, super easy. And
the best hospital, Rose.
Amazing.
Rose Medical Center here in Denver.
Wow.
Highly recommend. It's like the baby hospital.
It's called, he was born there.
I was born there, yeah, which is pretty cool. So me and Heath were born in the same hospital.
So super cute.
But it's known in Denver as like the baby hospital. If you're a Rose baby, you know, it's like a thing.
It's like a thing.
Yeah.
And then you won the Bachelor. So, yeah, super cute. They wouldn't even let me do a walkthrough with them. I couldn't.
It was a new thing since COVID.
And so I was very, you know, I was very upset about that. But then, and then also like my doctor the reason why I went to this clinic was so that I could have this specific doctor like birth me, and she was away. I didn't know where I was going to give birth. I didn't know which doctor was going to be, you know, my doctor. Turns out the doctor that I got was the one that like I wasn't the most excited about, but she ended up being wonderful. Just
fantastic.
Like
she was one of the more experienced doctors. And the cool part was all the doctors' babies had been delivered by this doctor. Like, they all wanted this doctor.
Yeah, all
which to me says a lot.
Yeah. Like everyone in the practice wanted this doctor to be their, OB, and that was mine apparently. Yeah. So a lot of things that I wanted to happen, but it just kind of veered and turned into this other thing, and it was great. So we're in this massive hospital room. I'm still planning on hypnobirthing. My doula gets there, so we're just like in the room. I'm on the bed. Our au pair is like, in the little guest area, so are you, like in the room. Like really gorgeous space, nice and open, which I wanted. I didn't want to feel like stuffed. Like, okay, well, tell us your preferences, what do you want to happen. I told them, and the doctor comes in, she goes, great, so we're going to give you this little pill.
Yeah, so at this point her water cell is not breaking.
Yeah.
Broken.
No, my water broke, but I didn't have any.
Oh, sorry, no contractions.
Yeah, at this point I didn't have any contractions.
No contractions yet, so we're just sitting there, she's just chilling.
And I'm just like, I'm so happy, and I'm like,
excited,
like, it's going to be, it's going to be my baby. And again, I'm feeling really confident. No one's bothering me, like everyone knows, like, not to call me or bother me or anything like that. You're handling all communication, which was great. So then they wanted me to take this little pill, and they go, you can take it 4 times over the course of 4 hours, and then after that we'll have a bigger conversation about like what to do and
Pitocin.
Yeah, Pitocin or anything like that. Any like more extreme measures. And I was like, okay, like I have 4 tries of this thing, and it was this tiny, like little Tic Tac, looking thing. It dissolves in your gum and under your tongue, and within 15 minutes,
it was like game time.
I was just like, I was on FaceTime with my aunt at this point. I was like, yeah, look, I'm at the hospital now, like calm down. And then as I'm on FaceTime with them, I hear another, and my body just goes. Like again, I heard a big pop, and I just felt like I was contracting and being split apart at the same time. And after that, it was just like,
it happened fast.
Okay, that was the first one. All right. And so then go and get into the bath. I have like little fairy lights up, the fan, music. Like I just had this like really great environment for myself that I felt like I was like at home basically. Get into the bath. I'm laboring for like 4 hours. What are you thinking about?
Well, I remember thinking at a time, it happened so fast. It was like,
right.
Holy shit, it's happening. We're like, this is super intense. Which, unfortunately we had to do that way. Because you went 24 hours up without a contraction after your water broke, so we had to take the pill.
Yeah. It
was one of those things where it was like, not part of the plan, but we knew we had to do it because we didn't want any kind of infection. So she popped this pill, and I remember thinking the first one, I was like, oh, okay, like here we go, it's gonna be like.
What'd you think?
And so I remember being like, okay, like this is a start, but like it's a marathon, not a sprint. Like we're just gonna be here. And then it was literally by like probably like the 5th or 6th contraction, she was just like, oh my god, this is like super intense. It was fast. I think she was having contraction, like a 30-second contraction every like 2 minutes, which is
every like minute. I remember like by the end of it,
she couldn't catch her breath.
I couldn't catch my breath. I was like,
yeah, she couldn't catch her breath, which is super fast. That's like, you have that many contractions that fast. Like, that long of contractions that fast, like right at the very end.
And that hard.
So I remember being like, obviously I wasn't know how she was feeling, but I could tell she was in pain. We got in the bath.
Yeah.
Warm bath.
That was nice.
And she was, it helped her. It helped her. And she lasted 4 hours, but it got to the point where it was so intense.
It was so intense. Again, I couldn't breathe.
Yeah, she could not get into the hypno birthing. Like she couldn't hypnotize herself.
Yeah.
She couldn't get there because it happened so fast.
She couldn't
relax. She couldn't slowly get into it and like get in the right mind frame. It just happened. So I'll be honest, at that point I was like, I kept saying, I was like, do you want, because she was like, I think epidural.
Yeah.
Epidural. And I was like, what do you want to try? Maybe like some.
And I made him swear.
That like, I wouldn't let her.
Yeah, I was like, no matter what I do, Blake, don't let me do it. Like, I know I'm gonna say some crazy shit. Like, just don't let me get an epidural. And the entire.
I fought it.
Yeah.
And I remember being like.
And you were nice about it.
I was.
Because I think you saw how.
Yeah, and I hate seeing you in pain. But I remember the one thing I did. I was like, let's maybe try to like laughing gas first.
Yeah. You're like, how about like the laughing gas?
Like,
and I was like,
try some of the like gas first. And you're like, no. Epidural. And I was like.
Well, because the nurse like was really sweet and she knew what I wanted to do. But then she was like, okay, we have options. And then as soon as like, I was nearing that 4th, hour, and my doula's there.
Oh, well, also, she was barely, what were you?
Oh, I barely dilated.
Dilated, yeah.
After
In 4 hours, she dilated, what, half?
2 centimeters.
2 centimeters, yeah. It was
No.
like...
And once she, because, you know, like, if
still
you're...
at, like, 8.
Yeah, if you're
You're still at 8.
hypnobirthing... What?
You were at 8
No.
centimeters dilated.
When? By the
At
end?
that point.
No, I was
At the
only...
end, you were like 6. Oh, I see. I was thinking they were
Yeah,
reverse.
yeah. No, I was only...
She was at 2 centimeters
Yeah,
dilated.
after 4
After
hours.
4 hours. And we thought, I remember she came in... When we first got there, she's like, "This is what she dilated." And I remember her coming in 4 hours later, like, "Oh, she's gonna be like 7,
Yeah.
6, 7."
Like,
And they were like
easy.
2. And you would be like,
Yeah,
what?
I was like, no, I'm
I
not doing
remember
this
that.
for another 4
You were like,
hours.
what, 4
I was
hours?
like, absolutely not. I literally looked at the nurse. I was like, what does the epidural do? She goes, it takes away the pain. I was like, give me the epidural. It was fucking intense. The guy came in, she goes, okay, like it's gonna be like another, like, I don't know, like 15 minutes or something. And like, I remember even thinking, like, I don't know if I can make it another 15
Really?
minutes. Yeah. So he was like, okay, it's gonna take around 2 minutes. And I was like, I'm gonna have at least 2 contractions.
You have to sit perfectly still.
And you have to sit
on an epidural.
perfectly still. And so I'm sitting like this,
It
and
was-
he gave me the epidural, and I got in a contraction. I was just like,
And you can't freak out. You can't move.
and I remember thinking that was the most, like, I was like, I'm a fucking princess, warrior, king. Like, I'm a goddess, like, for just sitting. Like, it was so mental. I was so mentally strong at that moment. But I remember just thinking, because, like, I need to just make it through this one last time, and I'm gonna get there. And, like, as soon as that shit hit,
It was amazing. It was like watching her face just like relax. And she just like, she could still like feel.
at that moment I couldn't.
No, you're just like.
No. And then, like, your legs just go.
Yeah, everything's just like
Yeah.
numb.
Everything gets numb. And I was so fucking happy.
I was like, I can sleep.
Yeah.
I was like,
I was like, this is
we
amazing.
can go to sleep.
I was like, why didn't I do this earlier? Why didn't I do this sooner? But I'm glad that I did it. Like, I'm glad that I tried doing it, you know,
natural.
naturally.
It's still a natural
my
birth, but you try to do it
birth
unmedicated.
Yeah, unmedicated. I'm really glad that I at least tried.
The epidural.
So then I got the epidural, and I
Relax a
remember
little bit.
thinking, like, oh, okay, like, now I can take a nap. Well, I couldn't, because once I started to fall asleep, Heath's heart rate started to drop, which is very normal after you get an epidural.
Mhm.
But it's supposed to pick back up after a while, and it did, because I stayed awake. And then as soon as I started to, you know, doze off again, the nurse would come in and, like, you know, check, and the heart rate started dropping. And so I was like, okay, I can't nap. Like, I'm not gonna sleep. This is my payment for taking the epidural. Like, this is what I chose, and I knew that this was gonna be one of those, like, moments where I could get stuck in the cycle of, like, epidural, pitocin, epidural, pitocin, epidural, pitocin, and then you stress out your baby and your heart rate so much that, like, inevitably you have to go get a C-section, and then the doctors are like, oh, well, thank God you came, you know, because you needed a C-section. It's like, no, like, you created this cycle. So I didn't want to get stuck into that. So I was like, okay, I'm going to use my hypnobirthing breathing to regulate. So I would, like, breathe into Heath, like, I would breathe into, like, my belly, and our heart rates just regulated.
You just stay awake.
It was like fucking magic. And that's what I mean with, like, the doula. Like, if it wasn't for all of that preparation, I wouldn't have felt confident that I could like stay strong and, like, not freak out and just take control in that moment, which I did, and I felt really proud of that. And then it was like, what, 8 a.m.?
Yeah, I was gonna say it was about 7 hours later.
Yeah, 6-7 hours later, 8 a.m. comes by, you know, they're like, oh, yep, you're gonna start pushing soon.
Yeah, you were like 8.
Yeah, I was like 8 centimeters,
8 centimeters.
9, you know, and then they'd be like, okay, like, you can start pushing. And I remember, like, your mom was in the room at that
Mom
point.
was there at that point.
The parents in the room.
Mm-hmm.
And you're obviously in the room. And I just look at them and I'm like, do you want to see a baby being born? And they go, yeah. So everyone just stayed in the room.
Yeah, my mom stayed,
Yeah.
Paris stayed, obviously I stayed.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, we pushed for
I pushed for
2 hours.
So at this point, he needed to get down my pelvic bone, and he wouldn't.
Yeah.
And he wouldn't, and he wouldn't. So, you know, like, you're laying, and they're teaching you how to push. Like they're saying, okay, you gotta hold your knees, then you gotta push for 10 seconds 3 times in a row with like as minimal amount of space in between as possible. And I'm like, okay. And this is the first time that like anybody had, we didn't do those parenting classes, so this is the first time that like I'm being told, you know, how to like position myself, how to breathe, how to this, how to that. And so we did it for like 30 minutes or something, and they checked and they go, yeah, no, he's still not coming down. And so at this point, I stopped hitting the epidural button because I wanted to feel my contractions, because that's another thing. If you don't feel your contractions while you have an epidural, you don't know when to push. Hence, they give you Pitocin, which makes you contract more, and then the cycle all over again. So I was like, okay, it's time for me to start pushing. Or once I started feeling my toes, the entire night I kept saying, move your toes, move your toes, move your toes, move your toes. So the entire time I could at least move my toes. And so then when it came to push, I could kind of like flex, and I started to feel my contractions again a little bit. So that's when I started doing like all these different positions.
Yeah, we went so many different positions on, you know, on her. She was like sitting up, like even squatting up,
leaning,
leaning, like turning around on the bed and leaning towards the bed that's up. Too,
right.
Like leaning.
Like all fours.
All fours. We did so many different
so many positions.
Standing.
And the nurses were like, you got an epidural? Like, how are you
doing all these
like
positions,
putting weight on your legs and you're not falling over? And I'm like, because I literally told myself that I had to like move my legs. That is what did it. That's the trick.
Well, once you stopped hitting the epidural too, it started.
Well, that's how I got Heath to move down.
Yeah. Oh yeah. You were down all those different positions.
All those different
there was
positions
one. I think it was
down.
when you were facing towards the bed. You had turned around on the bed and you were like kneeling. That one was really good. I remember.
And you were great.
Just trying.
He was great.
Was super intense.
Blake was great. He literally, so he would count with me. Like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Good girl. And I was like, oh, you're gonna get me pregnant again. All right. And I don't know how anyone else in the room felt about it, but I liked it. And I was like, this is nice. And I had a fan going.
Well, and then I held the
fan.
Yeah,
you had the fan.
I held the fan by you while you were doing it.
And then they brought the mirror. So I wanted to see everything. And so they brought the mirror. And finally, when like I finished moving the positions and he got, you know, lower.
It was where we could. Yeah. We were ready to like legit push it.
And so I laid back down, and the doctor was like, "Oh, you're flexible," because I'm literally pulling my knees up to my ears, and I'm pushing, and I can see, you know, the mirror. But I'm also like, I'm trying to like keep my eyes open while I'm pushing so I can see him, but I couldn't. So I had to like close my eyes because it was just so much pressure and so much force that I'm trying to like do. And so they go, okay, like put your hand down, like your baby's, so you can feel your baby's head. And like as soon as I did, and so like as soon as I did, I just had the biggest smile on my face.
She did. She was like so happy, and it was like crazy for me too because the moment I saw his head start to like poke out a little bit, I lost. I was like, this is the most magical thing I've ever witnessed. It just everything felt so like natural and like it was like the circle of life. Like I don't want to be too cliche,
like
but it was just like it was like euphoric and like watching it and the adrenaline, the excitement of like seeing your son being born. It was just like all so overwhelming and like so emotional. It was
and the entire time I was just like making jokes and I was just like having such a good time. And so like when when it was like the moment, I was just like, oh, wow, like this is like the best moment of my life. And literally the best moment of my life. And she was like, okay, push. Now stop. I was like, what? What do you mean? She goes, you can't push too fast because you'll tear.
Yeah, that's something that doesn't get talked about enough. I feel like it's because sometimes you get going and then it's like happens way too fast. And so she was like, push, and then she'd be like, stop, and I'd be like, stop.
Yeah, and I was like,
stop. And then she'd be like, okay, and then she'd
like,
more or less leave you up.
And it's like literally like Heath is here. Heath is here, and she's telling me to stop, and all I want to do is just like get him out. She's like, no, stop, and I'm like, okay. And then she told me at one point, she goes, stop yelling, you know, because you're letting all your. energy out your mouth when it should be coming out of your vagina. And I'm like, and I literally look at Blake and I'm like, haha, okay.
Yeah.
Like, okay, bitch, I'm not gonna do that.
Yeah.
I'm gonna yell if I need to.
But the pushing was super intense because obviously, like, at this point, we're already, she's especially exhausted. We're all exhausted. And it takes, think about, like, for those of you out there that are, like, into fitness and you, like, lift and work out, think about max weight. The most you can bench, the most you can squat for 2 hours every 2 minutes doing that.
Yeah.
That's what it is. For 10 seconds. So think about, like,
3
the
times
heaviest
in a row.
squat.
Yeah.
For 10 seconds, you're pushing the squat, and then you do it again 3 times in a row every 2 minutes, basically.
Yeah.
It's insane. And so, like, her body, at that point, was just, like, everything you had left.
Waiting.
And it was, I could see it in her face. I could see it, like, her back was killing her at this point. Because you gotta, like, kind of sit up and push. And, like,
you have to, like, curl your body into a C position, and then...
because then your diaphragm pushes.
Yeah, your diaphragm pushes him out.
Yeah.
And I remember, before, like, they were like, okay, you know, you're at 10 centimeters and you're pushing, but you're still not fast enough. So we're gonna, like, talk about Pitocin now. And I was like, no.
Yeah.
I've progressed beautifully. I know exactly what my body's supposed to be doing at this moment. It's doing exactly what it should. And no, like, I did the epidural. That was it. Like, that was my benchmark. I'm done. And literally right after that, like, 2 nurses and the doctor came in, like a little fucking army.
Yeah, they tried to
and just being like, well, this is what Pitocin does, and this is what it's gonna do. And I was like, thank you so much. And they walked away, and I literally looked at Blake, and I was like, yeah, we're not doing
And we had
that.
no reason.
Yeah, we didn't have any
fine.
reason. Like, I was looking at his
heart rate was fine.
heart rate. He was perfect. I was perfect. So we just kept going. I saw his little head, and I wanted to catch him. That was part of my birth plan, and I'm so happy that, like, my doctors were amazing and the nurses were fantastic, because, you know, as soon as he's gonna come out,
they remind, because obviously we're not thinking.
Yeah, we're not thinking about it. And the doctor was like, all right, now reach down.
I think she said, okay, reach down, grab your baby. Yeah, reach down,
grab your baby. And I was like, oh, you're right. So, like, I reached down and I, goosebumps, and I pulled him out. It was amazing.
And she just, like,
and I just grabbed him.
And for, like, probably, like, 6 or 7 seconds, he didn't cry.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden he let out this giant cry, and we were just like, oh.
Yeah.
And it was like, yeah, it was incredible. It was insane.
And he was just looking, and he was like,
yeah, he was just looking up.
He was just looking, and he was awesome, and he was great, and, like, his head was perfect, his lungs were perfect.
And within 45 seconds, he was latched.
Yeah.
He, like, moved right for the boob.
Latched.
He just
right away. And I was like, oh my god, not knowing that this was going to be the rest of my life. Just, like, he latched onto me for, like, 24 hours a day. And it was just awesome. And there wasn't, like, a dry eye in the room. All the nurses were, like, cheering me on while I was pushing. It was a great experience. It was amazing. And, like, at one point the doctors were like, well, you've been doing this for an hour and 20 minutes. I was like, I can do it all day.
Yeah, I remember that.
And I did. Well, no, I didn't. I was like, he just came out.
Just another half hour or
so. Yeah, just like another half hour, and he came out. And
he popped out, and everything was good.
And then you guys did skin to skin.
Yeah, you did skin to skin for a while.
Yeah, I did skin. And then I was like
an hour.
I was like, wait, no, like, I was like, do you want to hold him?
Yeah.
And, you know, I'm like, he's so delicate.
So tiny.
And Blake literally just goes, yep. And, like, it was like you held, like, 1,000 babies before.
Yeah, it was crazy.
I don't know where that came from.
So natural. It was, all the dads out there were, like, afraid. Like, for me personally, it's just everything all of a sudden became so natural. When it's your baby, you just, I don't know, I felt so comfortable. And then I sat on the couch and had skin to skin with him for a while. He slept on me. It was amazing. Yeah. She got to rest a little.
I was just, like,
well, at that
on a high.
We were on so much adrenaline.
So much adrenaline. Then your entire family literally walked in.
Mm-hmm. My whole family.
Yeah, like, met Heath, which is what I wanted. Like, I wanted it to feel like a celebration. I wanted everyone to be there. I wanted everyone to be a part of this. And then my mom flew in.
The next day.
No, that day. She got in like that night, but I told her that I was, like, in labor that morning. She got in that night. My dad was here 2 days later. We came home. Like, so we stayed
24 hours.
24 hours in the hospital. Amazing, like beautiful.
The nurses were fantastic.
Oh my god, the nurses they made it. They were so
the nurses
sweet.
Were so good.
We
so
gave them
sweet.
little presents.
Yeah, we gave them presents and a cookie note or a cake. Was it that?
And
you
cake.
got a cake?
Yeah, at that I think Two Face sent me like a 2 million follower. Like it said 2M. It was like a big cake, eclair essentially.
Yeah.
And we were like,
took it to
well, I guess we're gonna bring this to the hospital.
Yeah.
And all the nurses had it. And it was just like, it felt like a birthday. It was like a little birthday cake, now that I think about it. It was super cute. And, right? Yeah.
Yeah, and then we just, for the next 24 hours, we skin to skin, slept.
I nursed him.
Yeah, nurse, changing diapers.
He was perfect. He was perfect. They, they did all the tests.
Yeah, they came in.
The doctors came in.
The hearing test, the eye test, all the tests.
All the tests.
That was good.
They were gonna my mom came and she gave me like an arepa the morning that we were gonna get.
Yeah, she brought arepas.
She brought arepas and it was just great.
Yeah.
And
the doctors were like, you can stay
yeah.
another night if you want, and we were like, no.
Yeah, we're like,
let's go home. We were like,
we're
everything's
fine.
great. We want to go home. We want to be in the room.
Yeah.
That's kind of all the place we could be.
I wanted Georgia to meet him.
Yeah. So we brought him home and hung out in our room for the next 6 weeks.
Yeah. I couldn't walk.
But
so,
you surprisingly like.
No, I mean the morning, the day of, and the day after, I was like, wow, giving birth is like surprisingly pretty fucking doable. Like I can walk, nothing's really hurting. Yeah, like I'm literally inside out right now, but this is a lot better than I imagined. And so then I get home and I'm like, okay, like we're still doing it, like doing the diapers, doing everything, like for me, diapers for me, and the peri bottle, and I made vagicles, is that what they call them? And it was like those little pads with like witch hazel and aloe vera and all that stuff, and I was prepared. I felt really good, and I even told my manager, I was like, I'm ready to work, like I don't really need time off, I'm fine. And then
well, I think what happened was kind of the epidural started to really wear off and the adrenaline started to really wear off.
Well, this was after I got home.
Yeah, yeah, it takes they say about 24 hours.
Really?
Yeah. And I remember then it was like, oh, my back.
Yeah.
Because you pushed for so long.
Yeah.
That's such an intense, like.
My back felt like it was broken. I felt like my ribs were broken.
Yeah.
I felt just literally every little piece of me. I felt like one of those dolls that were like, like all the joints are like fucking, like, I literally felt like that. And I cried for like 3 days.
There was points where your back was so bad. I remember your back hurt.
I couldn't even change Heath's diaper.
Yeah.
Like I couldn't even do this type of like.
Your back was so bad.
I couldn't change him. I couldn't like sleep with him on top of me for longer than like 10 minutes because my back was just on fire. It hurt so bad. I think that was like the hardest point for me.
We got really lucky with the fact that he latched. He latched really fast. He never had a problem.
The first night we were like, this is normal because he like didn't cry. All he did was just sleep.
No, he just slept.
He just slept.
And he did sleep really well for the first
2 weeks.
2 weeks.
And everybody was like, just wait a second.
Yeah, just wait. The just wait crew.
Right.
They were right.
Well, also because he was early. So they're like, no, he's still kind of acting like he's in the womb. So wait until he gets to his due date, and then things
around his due
date, and things like start to change. And he never became like excessively crying. I mean, there was like a couple bad nights, but it was just because it was hard to get him to sleep. But he's always slept through the night.
Yeah, just eats.
Just eats. Just constantly eating, cluster feeding, everything was just like super intense for a while.
All in all, I mean, the birth story wasn't what we like. The plan, we had like the birthing plan. It didn't go exactly to plan, but it went the way it should have, and I'm really proud of
Me too.
us and you.
Yeah, I'm super proud
for like
of it.
staying like as close to the birth plan, but not being like stubborn. Like
no, we weren't stubborn.
Yeah.
We weren't scared.
We did what was right for Heath.
Yeah, we didn't just give in to any recommendation on either extreme. We did what was right for us, and It was the birth that I always wanted, and I'm really, because it only happens to 10% of women apparently.
Yeah,
like the breaking of the water and not feeling anything, like, and 30% of those, like, you know, end up in C-section, which there's nothing wrong with that, but it's just not what I wanted. And we got there, and it was great, and I would do it again.
I was gonna say, would you do epidural right off the bat? Would you try it again?
If my water broke and then I had contractions, I would try,
Okay.
and then I would see how far I got, but I wouldn't be opposed to an epidural. But I would want to see how, like, I progress.
Well, they say the second one happens.
Yeah, the second one just, like, falls out of you. So, this is our birth story. Do you want to see the baby?
Go easy. Make sure you hit the follow and subscribe and notification button and all that stuff, because yeah, we're gonna try and do some Q&As and some fun stuff, and we filmed some of the road trips we took with Heath, and some of the been to LA a bunch already, and Chicago and stuff with Heath. So traveling with baby isn't the easiest, but and look how big he is. Look at this little chunkster. Look at this little chunkster. That's Kevin.
Oh, I'm so
Look
big
at how tall
now.
he is now.
I'm so big now.
He was born at 6 pounds 6'8", right?
6 pounds 8 ounces. Still in Aries, like mama.
So we'll do more Q&As and videos and fun stuff.
And fun
And
stuff. My love. Good job. Bye. Love you.
Bye.
Besito.
Ciao.
Ciao.